The pandemic has given rise to a global shortage economy. A large rise in demand alongside a significant decrease in supply has created shortages everywhere and in everything. Increased demand, government stimulus, and labor shortages are at fault for the sudden, steep, and steady rise in prices. Increased demand is arguably the antidote to the economic shutdown experienced at the beginning of the pandemic. However, high demand coupled with low supply creates high prices, commonly known as inflation. The current U.S. inflation rate is 6.2% in comparison to the 2% target. As a result of the evolving environment from the pandemic, consumer tastes and expectations have changed. There's been an increase in demand for technology, workout equipment, home improvement goods, and more. Consumers anticipate an increase in prices, so many are increasing spending now to secure the lowest price, resulting in a rightward shift in demand ultimately being the source of the current inflation. With inflation, incomes often rise with prices, continuously shifting the demand curve to the right. Throughout the pandemic, the United States government gave out stimulus checks to most Americans to stimulate the economy through increased consumption and producer revenue. Stimulus checks were also used in the 2008 Great Recession and proven helpful. For alleviating recessions, government intervention is generally useful. However, in this case, intervention heavily contributed to the global supply chain issue. Stimulus checks are a form of discretionary, expansionary fiscal policy, where government transfers lead to a positive shock in aggregate demand. Simultaneously, increased commodity prices and lower worker productivity have caused a negative shock to aggregate supply. Together, this leads to an increased aggregate price level, and given the supply chain issue, we know aggregate output is not indeterminate but will decrease. U.S. job openings have hit record highs, but companies are struggling to fill these roles. As the world suddenly shut down, thousands of workers were laid off due to decreased demand. This exemplifies the economy experiencing cyclical unemployment. Unemployment caused by changes in the business conditions that affect the demand for workers. This sparked the labor shortage, but it worsened dramatically when stimulus checks were introduced. With this fiscal policy, those who were unemployed were receiving easy money in the mail, causing them to be unmotivated and picky about work, rather than taking the first opportunity they had for a paycheck. Now we can expect slowness in the service sector as finding, training, and hiring thousands of workers across industries is challenging during a pandemic. The government should end stimulus checks related to the pandemic because unemployed workers will be motivated to find jobs, therefore increasing worker productivity, bringing the American economy closer to equilibrium.
Created using Powtoon.